What is going on, guys? It is May 21st, Tuesday. Today is back day. I'm excited to get after it. And it's 9 a.m. right now. I'm just cooking up some breakfast right now. But in today's video, we're talking about a topic that I see a lot of guys are confused about. And it's, do gains equal girls, right? Because society is very odd today. You have all these girls saying that they prefer a dad bod, they don't want a guy that's in super good shape and all of this stuff. But whenever you go out to the bars and the clubs and all these places where it's kind of like a mating playground, right? You see the girls are leaving with the guys that are in better shape and better looking. But then, whenever they're not drunk anymore, they're saying, oh, I want a guy with a dad bod. I don't want a guy that's in super good shape, right? And it can be very confusing. And the answer at the end of the day is that yes, gains do equal girls, but the context is important to understand, and there's some background type stuff going on that you need to understand to have a firm grasp on this concept. So we're gonna be going over that today. And I am going to finish up cooking breakfast here so I can eat, because I'm fucking starving right now. I ran out of my cinnamon bagels, so I had to go to the grocery store this morning, hoping that they had some made, but they had these cinnamon raisin ones made, so I'm gonna try those out, see if they're any good. And while I'm cooking this food up, one thing I did wanna talk about is how to get more food in a growing phase, because a lot of people complain about how they can't eat enough food. They say they're hard gainers, their metabolism's too fast and all this stuff, but most people aren't actually hard gainers. A lot of people don't have that fast of a metabolism. They just don't have an actual understanding of how much fucking food it takes to grow, which is shocking to me and funny, because they hear all these bodybuilders talk about how hard the eating part is, that eating is the most difficult part, and how it's a struggle to get enough food in to grow and all this stuff. And all these people that have done the things they want to do, telling them this, and then whenever it comes time to eat and it's difficult, instead of being like, fuck, this is hard, but it's what I gotta do, they create an excuse. Oh, I'm a hard gainer, I have too fast metabolism, or oh, something is wrong, or whatever it may be. And they create this excuse in their mind rather than just accepting the fact that it's difficult, and it's just what they gotta do. So the first aspect is understanding that it is gonna be difficult. It's hard to get this much food in. I eat 6 meals a day, 3,800 calories on a training day, 3,200 or 3,300 on rest days. And then the next portion is your gut health, right? If your gut health is all fucked up, it's gonna be way more difficult to get the food in, right? If you're not shitting multiple times during the day, you're constipated, you're backed up, you're bloated and stuff, of course it's gonna be hard to get enough food in to grow. So you need to be taking a probiotic, you need to be taking L-glutamine in the morning, you need to be getting in enough fiber to make sure you're shitting enough during the day, you need to be drinking enough water during the day to make sure you're shitting enough. And if you need to, you can use digestive enzymes or betaine HCl to help with digestion as well. But if your digestion is on point, you're shitting a lot during the day, and you're not feeling bloated and stuff, it's a hell of a lot easier to get your meals in than the other way around. And what a lot of people fuck up is that they're struggling to get their food in, so they go out, they eat out, and they eat these foods that are calorically dense from fast food places, but in turn fuck their gut health up, right? And then the next day they try to eat on plan, but they struggle to because now their gut's fucked up and they're bloated and stuff. So like, fuck, I gotta eat out again. And they stay in this cycle of continuously fucking their gut health up, which is making it inevitably harder to get the meals in. So the next important part of a growing phase and making sure you're eating enough food is making sure your gut health is on point and that you're eating clean foods that make it easier to get foods in overall. Next is, a lot of people do not have a good understanding of how much food they're actually eating during a day. Maybe they'll track their food 2 or 3 times during the week and they eat like 4,000 calories a day, but they're not putting on any weight and they don't understand why. And it's because the other 4 days a week or whatever, they're eating in a huge deficit and not eating enough food. So their total weekly calorie intake is actually a maintenance level of calories or maybe even a slight deficit, and they're not eating in a surplus for the entire week. So you need to make sure that you're tracking your food every day and that you're in a surplus for the full week. The next aspect is that you probably don't need to be eating as much food as you actually think you do. A lot of people think they need to be putting on 3-4 pounds a week. In a growing phase, you really only want like 1 pound a week to make sure you're putting on mainly muscle and less fat during the growing phase. Putting on muscle is a slow process. There's only so much you can really do to speed it up. Obviously, gear, PEDs is one of those things you can do. But even then, in a growing phase, I'm only putting on like 1.5, maybe 2 pounds a week during a growing phase, and any more than that, it would just be extra fat that I'd be putting on, which we don't want to, because that's overall gonna fuck up the growing phase. It's gonna make the cut at the end of the growing phase that I have to do in order to bring insulin sensitivity back to prepare for another growing phase. It's gonna have to be a longer period of time, which is then taking away from the growth periods during the full year. And then the portion of the growing phase where I was fat, I'm going to be less effective putting on less muscle because I was more insulin resistant. So you don't want to be looking and focus too much on the weight on the scale, and you need to realize that this is a slow process. And don't be so concerned with hitting 200 fucking pounds to get above victim weight or whatever the fuck. The next portion is making sure you're waking up early enough. A lot of people complain they can't get enough meals in, but they're waking up at 11 o'clock and not having their first meal until 12. How do you expect to get 5-6 meals in a day whenever your period of time you're eating isn't that long? You don't have really much time in between meals then. So of course you're gonna be fucking stuffed and full and bloated all day and struggling. So you gotta wake up early enough to get that first meal in. I don't care if you wake up just to eat and then go back to bed and then eat again. Just wake up early enough to get that first meal in so you're on track for the day. If I sleep in too long, it fucks my whole day up. My days are revolved around my meals because it's that important. It's that sensitive of a thing. It's gotta be on point in order to be able to get my meals in properly. And I still do it anyways, even if I do have a day where I fuck up, but it's a hell of a lot harder. And the next part is that a lot of people start out their growing phases too fat. You wanna start your growing phase out at a lean body composition with a high insulin sensitivity. If you start out your growing phase already fat, already more insulin resistant, your metabolism kind of slow, it's gonna be a hell of a lot harder to get your food in as well because your metabolism's slower, you're more insulin resistant, and you already are gonna feel like shit. You wanna cut down first, get lean, like I'm talking pretty fucking lean, like your abs are pretty shredded up, and then start your growing phase and do it properly so that you stay lean throughout the growing phase. And your metabolism will be fucking cranking that whole time. My metabolism's still going really fucking well right now. I'm gonna have to up my calories most likely this week because I've been sitting around 192, 193 tops the last 2 weeks, but I've been pretty insulin sensitive and I've been burning through these calories, which is fucking great because for the most part, it's getting put into building muscle. Like I'm staying pretty lean for week 12 of a growing phase right now. And those are really the main tips that you need for a growing phase. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but a lot of people overcomplicate it because they want to make all these excuses for why they can't do it and stuff because they don't want to do things the right way because the right way is the hard way. All right, guys, so I'm getting ready to eat my pre-workout meal. It's about 11:20 right now. I took the dog for a long ass walk. It's hot out, so he's dying right now. Probably gonna take a fat ass nap. But the first thing that you need to realize whenever we ask ourselves, do gains equal girls, is that we all have this biological hardwiring whenever it comes to our mating interactions, our intersexual dynamics, and who we're looking to have sex with. There's reasons for why we find what we find attractive. So whenever a girl is looking for someone to mate with, she has these subconscious, hardwiring built into her brain for what she's looking for a purpose. So having a physique, having muscle, it shows discipline, it shows work ethic, and it shows the possibility that he can protect her, which are all things that women for thousands of years have looked for in a man. Because if a guy has muscles, right, like I said, they show discipline, they show work ethic, and they show character. So that more than likely shows her that he's probably going to be successful, he's probably going to be able to provide for her financially, he's probably going to be a good mental rock for her so that he can provide stability in her life mentally whenever she's going through hard times. And as we all know, in the fighter versus bodybuilder conversation, bodybuilders aren't, just because you're big doesn't always mean you can fight, but naturally it shows them that he can more than likely protect her over some skinny little shit kind of guy. So these qualities that come with having gains, having bigger muscles, are what initially attracts a girl to a guy with gains. And you see this in animals and you see this throughout history with humans as well. But the thing is that we are conscious creatures, right? We have a subconscious and we can think, which also means we can be brainwashed by society and our surroundings, right? You don't really need a man in today's society to protect you. It's pretty calm and controlled compared to 1,000 years ago, right? And a lot of women don't really need a man to provide for them financially either. So they don't really need those qualities as much anymore, but they are built into their subconscious to find those attractive. But we live in a society today where they're trying to brainwash women into thinking that is not what they want anymore, and that's just the male gaze. The female gaze is wanting this feminine looking guy, right? And this goes along with this whole feminist women power movement or whatever, right? And so women are trying to kind of work around and ignore their natural inclination to go after the more alpha male built kind of guys, right? And they are purposely going after and telling themselves and convincing themselves and being convinced by society that they don't want that and they want the more beta male type dude. And a lot of times this is because of the women power type thing. Women are as good as men, and women are as good as men. They just have different qualities that make them better in a different way. But they aren't going to be able to compete and have power over a guy that has a good physique, more than likely, because he more than likely has the discipline, he more than likely has the work ethic, and he more than likely has confidence. So he's not going to put up with some chick that is trying to overpower him and try to act like she's in control all the time, right? So it's a hell of a lot easier to go after a guy that's skinnier, doesn't really have a physique, and more than likely doesn't have as much confidence, more than likely isn't as disciplined or have as much work ethic or any of that stuff. So it's gonna be a lot easier for a girl like that to control him. So a girl like that is looking to have the power in the relationship and show that she's masculine and better than a man or whatever the fuck, she's going to go after that more beta male type dude, which inevitably, typically has less muscles. So now she's kind of rewired her subconscious into being attracted to that type of dude, even though deep down, deep in the subconscious to her roots, she has ingrained that she wants that type of guy. And you can see this in a bar setting all the time. These girls that say they want that kind of guy, a lot of times they will go home with the guy that has the more muscles, the alpha Chad type guy, because whenever you're drunk, all that stuff goes out the window. Whenever you're drunk, you're kind of put in this state where you're sent back to your hardwiring, your default mode, right? And you're more like an animal almost. So they end up naturally going towards what they are more turned on by default. And I mean, whenever I was single, I noticed this as well. There were so many liberal type girls who had these posts about, you know, men this, men that, all that stuff. But who'd they go home with? They would go home with me. All right. And I was more of the alpha Chad type guy. And a lot of girls also will date guys with muscles who appear to have confidence, discipline, work ethic, all this stuff, and are douchebags, and they'll have that bad experience, and now they put that label on all guys like that. So now they avoid guys like that at all costs, and they have themselves convinced that they don't want that kind of guy because they contribute the asshole douchebag type guy that they were with that cheated on them or did whatever with that entire group now. So now they have like this past trauma that makes them not want that type of guy. And we are told today in society that masculinity is bad. So what do we relate masculinity to? We relate masculinity to discipline, work ethic, not letting people walk on us, and being a man. And along with that comes having a good physique. And because a lot of women have in their heads today now that masculinity is a bad thing, they run away from things that resemble masculinity, which one of those things is muscles. But like I said before, naturally, deep down in their brain, they are still attracted to that. They're just trying to implement this new subconscious programming into their head that that's not what they want anymore. Because a lot of women today also, they look at femininity as bad. They don't want to be submissive or have a guy taking care of them or whatever the fuck, right? They have themselves convinced that they don't want that, even though I believe deep down they do want that, but they're being told that that means they're weak, so they try to say they don't want that and they think they don't want that. But deep down, they don't want that. So they go after these guys that are going to allow them to take the masculine role rather than the feminine role. And then the guy that is the beta male type dude takes the feminine role so they can be masculine. But if they found a truly masculine guy that wasn't a douchebag or an asshole and was actually a genuinely good dude and let them be feminine, I can almost guarantee you 9 times out of 10, every girl would be 10 times happier because naturally that's what they want, even if they don't think that's what they want. 9 times out of 10, a girl is much happier whenever she has a good guy, a truly masculine guy that cares for her, loves her, and he finds his sole purpose in taking as much stress off of her plate as he can in order to make her life happy and good. Most girls are going to be happier in that life circumstance than they are in a relationship where they're in charge of everything financially and all of the stress is on them. And a lot of times girls want to be that masculine role for several reasons. 1, because of society's indoctrination into their brain, or 2, because of past traumas. Maybe they got essayed by a guy and now they have this obsession with being in power all the time and having power over men. Or maybe they got cheated on by a masculine type dude, so now they make it their sole life's mission to be the one in control, the one in power, and things of that nature. So they're ignoring their default way of thinking because of a past trauma, which now changed their perception, and it leads to them a lot of times being unhappy. A lot of these girls that are like that, they aren't happy people. Okay, like on the outside they might be all happy and laughing, but they will find anything they can to get mad about whenever it comes to this topic or topics like that. They will find things to complain about all the time, and deep down they genuinely aren't happy. And honestly, at the end of the day, you don't want to date a girl like that. So Sure, gains might not get you the girls that have that perception, but you don't want them anyways, because they're not going to make a good girlfriend. They're going to be a pain in the ass, constantly trying to fight with you to be the masculine one in the relationship if you're not masculine enough to put her into her femininity. So you don't want to date a girl like that. She's not going to make a good girlfriend to begin with. So whenever you get gains, you're more likely to attract girls that are going to be a good girlfriend and match the type of relationship you want. Now, that's not being said that you won't attract girls like that, because like I said, a lot of those girls deep down, they want that masculine, muscular type guy, right? Because it shows those traits we talked about earlier, and they have a more sexual animal type urge to get with that kind of guy. So in a bar setting, if you're just trying to get laid and stuff like that, you'll be able to get girls like that. Or you'll see a lot of girls like that that talk about, oh, fuck man, blah, 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 all this stuff. You know, in the background, they're Snapchatting the guy that's the Chad alpha male type dude and just fucking him. But you have to keep in mind that the gains are not the only thing that matters whenever it comes to getting a girl, which I'll go into in a little bit. So just getting the post-workout meal ready to go right now. 360 grams of white rice with 7 ounces of chicken breast, waiting for my broccoli to heat up in the microwave right now. But another thing I forgot to mention is that a lot of girls today are on birth control, right? And you might be like, well, why the fuck does that matter? So ask yourself, what is birth control doing to a woman's body? It's making her think that she's pregnant, right? And so whenever a woman is pregnant, what kind of guy is she going to be more looking for? A guy that's probably stable, a guy that's less likely to leave her, and a guy that's less ambitious and risk-taking and stuff like that. Which, what comes to mind? More of like the accountant beta type guy that's going to be there to support her and give her everything and not be focused on his own goals, right? And then what happens whenever she gets off the birth control? All of a sudden she's not attracted to that guy anymore. There's lots of stories about it. It's really interesting and actually pretty sad that people will be dating for years or married or whatever, and their wife will get off of birth control and she's no longer attracted to him anymore. Why is that, you might ask? Well, her body doesn't think it's pregnant anymore, and so now she wants to go after the guy with the good genes, the guy that's ambitious, the guy that maybe has muscles because it shows these other qualities. And so now she's going to go after him. So that's another factor that we have to take into consideration whenever we're talking about this stuff. And I just find this topic so interesting because so many people, one, don't really realize all of this stuff is going on subconsciously in their brain. And a lot of people like to try to argue that it's not actual science and that, you know, it's not true and this and that. But I don't need a study to show me that this stuff is true. I have seen it time and time and time and time again in the real world. And if I'm observing things in the real world countless times over and over again and seeing these patterns, and there's a logical conclusion and reasoning behind these patterns, then it makes sense. I don't need a study or some shit to show me. And a lot of these studies and stuff, they start with the intention of finding a result that the people want to find, so they can be biased. But another thing you want to think about is that your physique is just, it's like a fishing hook, right? Your physique might be shiny and it might attract a fish to you. But if your personality is fucking shit, then guess what? You got a rusty ass hook that's not gonna be able to hold a fish. You can't just have the physique if you wanna get a girl, especially if you want a girlfriend. Sure, just the physique might be able to get you laid, all right? Because different tactics work for girls that you're just trying to fuck than the girls you're trying to date. And I made an entire video on this before. But if you're trying to get a girl that you wanna date, just the physique is not going to cut it. Sure, it might attract the girl to you, or like I said, it might be a deterring factor for some girls who have had bad experiences with guys that are more masculine in the past, but you also have to have a good personality. Like my girlfriend that I'm dating right now, we've been together for 3 years and have a great relationship. She almost didn't talk to me because of my physique, because I gave off the more masculine type look. And so she assumed that I was probably an asshole and a douchebag. So she almost didn't even consider talking to me because she had bad past experiences and because she was part of a friend group that was this more women empowerment liberal side of things. So she had this viewpoint of masculine men that didn't apply to me. So she started to talk to me. She realized I was a really humble, down-to-earth guy that was confident, had big goals, and just liked working on my body because it was a way for me to build confidence in myself and better myself. And she fell in love with me. But like I said, she almost didn't talk to me because of that, because she had this preconceived notion in her head that a guy like me was going to be an asshole or a douchebag. She was attracted deep down to the more masculine type look of a guy like me, but because of her past experiences tainting that look, tainting that masculine type guy, it almost just scared her off from talking to me. And that's where a lot of people get confused. They have these past experiences, they have society telling them masculine type guy is bad, and maybe what society is telling them is reinforced by some experiences because they date a guy that maybe has a nice physique, but he isn't confident in himself. He isn't a masculine man. He's insecure and a douchebag and an asshole. He cheats on her or does whatever, and now that girl is relating masculinity and a built physique to a guy like that. But if a girl finds a guy that has a good physique and has all the qualities of a masculine man, she's gonna choose that every time over a fucking beta male type guy. And that isn't saying that a guy that doesn't have a good physique is always a beta male type dude, okay? That's not what I'm saying either. Usually, a decent physique and working out and paying attention to your nutrition and making sure that you're presentable and look good goes hand in hand with being masculine, but it's not the case all the time. But my point here is that sometimes, because of the way you look, you might have to go out of your way to show a girl that you want to talk to that you aren't the douchebag type guy, because she might already have this preconceived bias built into her mind because of your physique. Sure, she might be attracted to you physically, but because of past traumas or society or whatever, that might deter her from talking to you because she already thinks you're going to be a cheater or an asshole or this type of guy. So you might have to go out of your way to talk to her and show her that's not who you are as a man. And then she'll see you're not that type of guy and that you have the good physique, you have the discipline, the work ethic and all this stuff, and then she'll be attracted to you. And something that you need to keep in mind with all this stuff is that for girls, attraction is more on the mental side of things, your character, who you are as a person, and how you make her feel, than it is the physical side. The physical side is more so attractive to a female because of the possible character traits that they represent. So if she talks to you thinking that you're going to have these character traits because of your physique, and then she finds out that you don't have those, then she'll probably stop talking to you. Obviously, physical attraction is an aspect to what a girl is attracted to, but it's more so because of what that physical look represents. Because whenever we're talking about what girls find attractive, the character traits, ambition, this represents someone that is possibly going to be successful in the future and be able to provide for her financially. Work ethic goes hand in hand with the other one, and it also shows that you're going to put effort into the relationship. Discipline goes hand in hand with the other two. It shows that you are going to possibly be successful, be able to provide financially. Confidence, it shows that you are going to be able to be a steady rock for her whenever she is having her emotional ups and downs, and you're going to be able to help her get through those. And then girls will find certain things like tattoos attractive because they show a little bit of risk taking, right? Which kind of goes hand in hand with being ambitious. Like a lot of girls will find weird things attractive. Like I saw a video the other day, this girl found it really attractive when this guy was like opening a can of spaghetti sauce with like a screwdriver, doing all this stuff. Or I just found out the other day that there's tons and tons of girls that subscribe to Guys OnlyFans that take videos of them with their shirt off, putting cabinets together and shit. It shows that you're a capable man, that you're capable of doing shit and getting things done so that then you can take care of and provide for her. I mean, that right there is just evidence that girls find that attractive. There's a reason why girls love movies like 50 Shades of Grey. There's a dominant male figure that is a little bit controlling, kind of aggressive, and obsessed with the girl he's with, because that's what they find attractive, even though they pretend to say that they want the opposite of that. We're gonna get ready to go to the gym right now and go hit some fucking back. Alrighty guys, so I'm heading to the grocery store right now because I'm all out of Greek yogurt, and that's meal 2 tomorrow, so I don't really have time in the morning to go get it before I have to eat it. But right now I'm driving my boy's truck, my roommate's truck, because I don't know if I told you guys yet, but I lost the R8 keys. So the other day, it was 4 days ago, I was taking Coda out for a walk, and I could have sworn I grabbed my keys, but I went to go back into the building, and I went to scan myself in, and there was no keys in my pocket, and I was like, what the fuck? Must have left them inside, whatever. And so I go back inside, and the last 4 days, I have been just fucking searching frantically for them. So I lose things pretty often, so I was like, oh, you know, it makes sense. Then, yesterday I go into this app that our apartment complex has that you can join. There's like a community chat board and everything. And 3 days prior to yesterday, somebody posted in there, hey, I found car keys. They were Audi car keys or whatever. And I found them outside and I put them inside the apartment complex lobby on the table. So my keys, obviously they had my Powerhouse tag on it and everything. And so I go in to the apartment complex and I look on the table, they're not there. So then I go to the front desk and ask if anybody brought them in. Nope, nobody brought them in. So somebody grabbed my keys off that table and hasn't fucking turned them in to the front office. And I'm just like, and it's 4 days later now since they've been put there. So it's like, who the fuck grabs somebody's keys off of a table in the common room? I can see maybe grabbing them with the intention of turning them into the office, thinking maybe somebody left them there or some shit. I don't know. But then why would you not take them to the office so the person can have their car keys back? What, like, luckily I work from home, but imagine if I had a job I had to get to or something, and had to like drive to an office or had to travel somewhere or do anything where I need my car. Like, I would need those keys. And I mean, it's my fault for, you know, losing them in the first place, but if you're gonna grab them off a common area table, why would you not turn them in? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. So I'm just waiting to get my fucking keys back right now. Right now, like I said, roommate's truck, it's very old. It has, you know, crank windows, you know, get a little arm pump doing that. And sometimes I actually prefer driving this truck because it sounds kind of weird, but the R8, dude, like, it can be stressful to drive it because, I don't know, I don't like human interaction that much. I love good human interaction, like, you know, whenever you have a good conversation with somebody, but the human interaction I get from the R8, it's just kind of like, it gets annoying a bit. Like, I don't mind somebody saying like, oh, cool car, man. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, sometimes people just try to talk to me for like 20 minutes, and I'm just like, I don't feel like it. I don't like people looking at me because I'm not a flashy guy. Like, it's just not, I don't know. Like, I wish that my R8 would appear to everybody else as like just a normal sedan sometimes. So this car is kind of nice driving around. It's just a normal truck, just a normal fucking dude, you know? And like, it's not a super expensive car. Like, it's like a $5,000 truck, so it's not, you know, if I got a crash or something, it's like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, so gonna go to the store, grab that shit. Just, yeah, I'm just bullshitting. Okay, so it's actually like 10:30 now. I hit the gym a fucking hot minute ago. As you saw though, I didn't record anything because, you know, the last 2 days, I just didn't feel like recording while I was lifting. I'm a bodybuilder first and foremost. That's who I am. This influencer recording bullshit is just a little something extra I do on top of it. And, you know, if I feel like recording that day is gonna take away from my lift, I don't do it because that's what's most important to me. And that's the problem with a lot of people that post on social media is they aren't using social media as it's intended to be used as a tool to document your life and provide value to others. Instead, now their life is social media. And so that's why you can't really trust a lot of people on the internet because they're only going to remain true to themselves and their morals and their values to a certain extent up until the point that their social media is taking a hit, because that's how they base their value on themselves, is their social media accounts. So there will come a point in time where they'll stop being real and all this shit, and they'll do whatever it takes in order to, you know, get their follower count back up, get their likes back up, all that shit, because that's where they get their value from. A lot of these kids, they didn't do anything outside of social media. They got famous for, you know, doing whatever bullshit got them viral on socials, and then they just kind of went with it, and they haven't done anything in the real world. They don't have anything really going on in the real world with purpose behind it or actual value. So they derive all their value from their social media accounts. So they're only going to stay true to themselves up to a certain point. And that's why a lot of them are very, very fucking insecure. Because basically they're just like a physical manifestation of whatever the algorithm wants to see. So you got, like, for example, these guys that post these gear edits, for example, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, they're being real, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, come on. Posting videos about using steroids is not being real anymore, okay? It's cool to talk about steroids. You get a lot of views from posting on steroids, and the risk to reward is heavily weighed on the reward side of things. It's not hard to talk about steroids anymore because you get more of a reward than you are risking anything. Okay, so it doesn't really take that much integrity to post videos about gear anymore. It doesn't really say much about your character to do it. So as far as the gains getting you girls aspect, yeah, they do definitely get you girls. But context matters, and you also have to have the other factors, your personality and your character built in play in order for it to lead to you getting a good girlfriend. But it will definitely still get you fucking laid. Don't listen to anybody that tries to tell you that being in good shape will not get you laid more, because it will. But you also have to have confidence. You have to be able to go up to chicks and be good at talking, have good character, be charismatic, all that good stuff as well. It just is something that helps also. Like, not to sound cocky or arrogant or anything, but like I see girls in the gym staring at me all the fucking time. Like whenever I'm working out with my friends and stuff, they see it too. It's not just me thinking they are, you know what I mean? You know, I've had girls come up to me whenever I'm walking my dog, ask for my number, shit like that, you know what I mean? And it's because I'm in good shape. I mean, I'm a decent looking dude as well, but I would definitely say that my physique has something to do with it too. But yeah, other than that, that's gonna be today's video, and I will see you guys tomorrow.